Hi, I'm Jason from Worship Artistry. You know, we've all been there. We get the set list and we look down and we see a song by Chris Tomlin and it's in B flat. And we silently curse Chris Tomlin for having such a high voice and choosing such a difficult key for guitar. But we pray, we repent, and then we remember we're guitar players. We can use capos. Now the question is, where's the best place to use it so that we can get the best sound for the song? In this video, I'm going to give you the philosophy behind it and help you choose it right every time. Now, before we even jump in and say where to put the capo, I want to make a point and say capos are not a cop-out. Right? A lot of times guitar players, we can get a little snooty and we're like, you shouldn't use a capo, that's just a crutch. You should be able to play any chord on any fret, do whatever you want. And the truth is, I can do that. I know my guitar neck really well. I can fret notes, I can use weird open strings, but a lot of times I still choose to use a capo because that sounds better. I like the sound of the open strings, I like the voicings that I get, so it's a creative choice, it's not a cop-out. Now, if you're kind of a beginner, which, you know, if you're on a video learning where to put a capo, you might be, it's okay to use that as a crutch. It does help us. It helps us jump in, but ideally, you do want to get to the place where you understand the neck and you're not limited by key. But even if you know all that, a capo can still be a great choice. Now, before you even ask, I'm using a G7 capo. I love their capos. At this point, I pretty much don't use anything else. They're very easy to move around. They keep the guitar in tune. I haven't found a better one. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use a different one, but that's what I like. So, you know, check those out. But when we start thinking about a capo, we want to think about two things. We want to think about where we're going to fit in the band, and we're also trying to think about, if we're on our own, kind of what we're trying to create, you know, playing solo. All right, let's talk about what a capo actually does. A lot of times we just gloss past this, and it's kind of really important to understand. Essentially, a capo takes the nut of the guitar and just moves it up fret by fret. So instead of playing here, I can capo on the first fret and move that shape. All right, now, what do I mean by shapes? A lot of times we think of this as a G chord. If you're familiar with a G chord, if you've been playing guitar at all, you should recognize that, right? So we're like, oh, that's a G chord. Now, if I take that shape of my fingers and I move it up one fret, it sounds really bad, right? And the reason is because I moved only those fingers, but I still left the open strings. If I only played the notes I moved, that still sounds fine, and I can keep doing that. But it sounds bad because I still have those open strings. What a capo allows us to do is move everything. So now I can play my G shape, but my note, my root note there is actually a G sharp. And I can move it up another one. Now I'm playing in the key of A, even though I'm still playing G shapes. And that applies to all the shapes in that key. So for example, when we say things like, all right, I'm gonna capo on one, and I'm gonna play G shapes, that means I think of this song like the key of G, even though it's in G sharp. So all my chords still work. But now I'm just in a different key. So it's always helpful to still think about it like, all right, I'm playing the song in the key of G, even though I'm actually in G sharp. Hope that makes sense. All right, now here's the thing. We can capo all over the neck. I can capo really high and play G shapes. And in certain situations, that can sound cool. But once again, that's a creative choice. But here's the thing, I'm starting to get into ukulele territory, right? In that case, just play a ukulele. So one of the things I like to think about is I don't want a capo really past the 5th fret for the most part. And then there's kind of different frets and different sections that like feel really good with certain keys. So that's what we're gonna focus on here. So we're gonna just start low and we're gonna just talk about the different places that you can capo. So one of the first kind of, if you think about, you know, your E chord, right? E is a very natural guitar key, right? But what about E flat? Ugh, now we're getting into, I know, it gets weird. I don't like it. But my first capo place is on the 1st fret. And if I do that, I can play D shapes, right? That means that I'm playing like it's in the key of D, but I'm capoing on the first fret. So now my D is an E flat. My G is an A flat. My A chord is a B flat. And so on, right? So as long as I know the chords in the key of D, I can very easily play through any song that's in E flat just by using those shapes instead. This works great. It works great for E flat. Go up one more with the key of D. This is kind of an interesting way to play in the key of E. If you have one guitar that's playing open E chords, I'm playing D shapes is the same thing as see how it creates those different harmonies? So from the second fret, I'm gonna go up one more, third fret. Using D shapes again, this gives me F. I like that, that sounds great. One more gets me to F sharp. When I get to the fifth fret, now I'm in G. I'm playing it like it's in the key of D, but we're actually playing G, we're playing in the key of G. This is where I want to stop, okay? So I'm at G. If I want to go to G sharp, I don't want to think about capoing past that fifth fret. So what do I do if I want to go to G sharp? Well, once again, I'm going to bring my capo down. We already talked about G sharp, right? So we got G. So we're going to capo on 1, and we're now going to use key of G shapes. So now I've got, I'm in G sharp, A flat, right? Move it up another one. Now I'm in A. Once again, this is another one. A sounds good open on a guitar, but especially if you have two guitars, if one is playing with open A and the other one's playing here, it really gives you a lot more depth in the way that your chords work together. Or in a band situation, you're just filling a different space than what a lot of the other instruments are doing. So here I'm in A. When I want to go to A sharp, another awkward key, or B flat. Thanks, Chris Tomlin. We just put it on 3. We play G shapes. Fourth fret takes us to B. And then finally, when we get to the fifth fret, we're in the key of C. You know what's another good, good key on the guitar? Is the key of C. So at this point, I don't want to go past the fifth fret. I'm going to reset and come back down here to C, and I'm just going to use my open C shapes. But for C sharp / D flat, another awkward guitar key, I can play C shapes when the capo's on the first fret. For D, same thing again. Even though D is a good guitar key, I can get different sounds by capoing on 2 and playing C shapes, or like I'm in the key of C. Scoot up to the third fret. Well, guess what? I'm back to E flat. So now I have covered every key on the guitar, but I've only needed to know the shapes for G, C, and D. If I know those 3, I can now cover any key as long as I know the shapes for those 3 keys, right? The other thing a capo is great for is to help actually create harmonies with other instruments. You ever been in a spot where you see like 2 guitar players and they're playing the exact same thing? Like, we don't really need one of you in that scenario, right? But if one of you has a capo, well, you can get all kinds of different sounds. Let's see how that works. Here to help us, you may know him from Worship Artistry.
Yes, it's me, Nick.
Nick Rice, also known as Bob McClipp. And Nick, let's do this. Let's actually show kind of how these things can layer. So let's start in the key of E. We'll play like an E, A, B, A, something like that. So this is the first chord of the scale, the fourth, and the fifth. And we'll start playing together, and then I'll just start capoing and trying different stuff.
1 4 5 4.
Yeah, 1 4 5 4.
Got it.
It'll be in the video on the Nashville number system. I think we need to do that. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. It actually doesn't sound bad when you play right in time. Most people don't though.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. I'm gonna keep on 2, play in the key of E, but now I'm doing D shapes. Which did you like best?
I liked that one actually because it really. I had low.
Right.
You
Yeah.
had high.
Yeah.
The second move you made, I can't remember what you went
Yeah.
to. D shapes maybe.
Yeah.
It sounded fine, but it wasn't as pleasing.
Right. It's a little closer.
Yep.
Right. So what's fun is like, let's say we were gonna do it in the key of D.
Okay.
Let's play something in D. So why don't we just play the same chords? So it'd be D, G, A. And I'll play in C. See how that sounds together. That's a little more body, right? Now let's keep going. We're at D, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna break my rule now. I'm actually gonna come way up high. See how that sounds.
Here we go.
A lot of times people use this kind of a thing to do picking, where they'll be like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
but you hear how kind of like when you start getting up there, it can get kind of.
It's like it's almost like a mandolin.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
Which are nice.
yeah,
you
it's
know.
cool.
But,
I guess if you don't have one laying around.
Yeah,
then
yeah.
good, but,
If your mandolin player wasn't there at church that day.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, that's how you can use a capo. That's how you can use it creatively. Main thing to think about is kind of where those things land. Remember, just don't go above your 5th fret. Should we make like a chart of this or something?
Maybe. Yeah.
Why don't we make a chart of this? We'll link to it in the description. So if you want like a chart of where to capo where, or when to capo where,
Let us know.
you can just download it from the link down there. And if you haven't subscribed yet,
Please
please,
do it.
guys, we're about to break 90,000.
It's gonna be amazing.
You know what I really want to get to though?
A million. 100,000.
100,000 would be great. Help
be
us
great.
get there. Just
Please.
hit that button. It'd be great. And come visit us over at Worship Artistry and you can get like 700 tutorials.
Please.
And know exactly where to capo and play, what to play for everything.
Easy. Be confident.
Yeah, we'll see you there.